Welcome back to Studio 10. Well, barely a week after the government's backflip on burqas being worn inside Parliament House, three faceless men have taken their protest to Canberra. Angry that there's, quote, not one set of rules for all Australians. One wore a Ku Klux Klan mask, another wore a niqab, and a third man wore a motorcycle helmet and tried to get into Parliament House. They are Sergio Redgully, Nick Folkes and Victor Waterson, and they join us now here at Studio 10.
Hi, how are you? Hello. I'm not sure who's who. Hi, Grandmaster. Hi, how are you?
Hi. Nice so, can we work out who's who to begin with? Can we take the masks off?
So,
Nick Folkes.
I think Sergio, are you?
Yeah. It's a problem, Victor? Isn't it?
No. Yeah. Can we take the masks off?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So it's actually the Ku Klux Klan outfit's really confronting.
Absolutely.
What were you trying to say yesterday?
Just like you said, this is confronting. But the problem is, in the last 4 years for myself, that any civil discussion about the burqa and niqab is always made to be an issue about religion and other cultural issues, where we've always been discussing this from the point of view of equality in Australia, about one set of rules, one law.
Can I just stop there just for 1 sec? You know the difference, though, between the Klan mask and the niqab are poles apart, because the niqab is part of someone's faith, and, you know, the Klan mask is what they used to wear in the Deep South when they'd burn black Americans.
Correct. And this garment has killed far less people than the ideology behind this one.
It's the intolerance that both garments represent. To me, the burqa represents intolerance, and so does that garment. And it was all about drawing attention to our campaign to ban the burqa in Australia. And yesterday we proved our point because the publicity was fantastic. The commentary was good afterwards, sort of thing, and just being here, this is what it's all about, just creating this conversation about the burqa. I know it's confrontational for some people, it's very challenging, but why would you support a burqa? What's this got to do with women's rights?
Why do you want it banned? Is it for a security issue for you? You were saying that the identity is you can't see who's under the burqa, or is that your issue?
Well, that's one of the issues, but culturally speaking too. I think it's got nothing to do with freedom. Security is very important, of course, and it's a normal human expectation for people to see each other's faces.
But didn't you get through? You cleared security yesterday, so didn't that kind of backfire and prove your point that if they check your face, it's fine?
To make it fair for everyone's security and safety, I mean, the stunt was kind of semi-organised in the sense that the media was aware that we were going to do it, security was aware that we were going to do it, because we didn't want to upset anyone or cause any sort of potential misunderstanding anywhere down the line. So we had to be cautious.
Do you think not wearing that would be upsetting and hurtful?
Of course, but again, it comes down to that this is a disgusting item. It's a disgusting piece of history in the world. But everyone is comfortable in actually being able to discuss this in a negative. There's no positives, but in a negative. There's no one who's going to support this image.
It's very different. I mean, the Ku Klux Klan is an organisation whose stated belief, whose stated principles are to wipe out black Americans, because that's where it arose, in the Deep South, that it believes in a white master race. Someone who's wearing the burqa is someone who's just saying, I am a particularly devout religious person. I don't think anyone... I know a lot of people don't like it particularly, and they don't find it particularly amenable to Western society, but isn't it their business? They're not hurting anyone. They're not hurting you. As far as we know, you guys are the first person to actually try to get into Parliament House wearing a burqa. Like, you're the ones making a big song and dance about it. It's not actually an issue.
The Ku Klux Klan is so small in America, and it's almost non-existent sort of thing.
It is now,
and it wasn't just a campaign against
African
Americans. They also had campaigns against Catholics and Jews and Slavs. So it wasn't just on African Americans. And this is the most extreme element of Islam. You know, the people that wear this, they are showing the most extreme. They're segregating themselves from society. You know, who's going to employ somebody who wears a burqa?
They're just women. They're women going about their business. The people who are actually doing the real damage are the people like Islamic State who are going around beheading people.
I agree, but
have
this
a fight
is part
against
of it.
them. Have a conversation.
When you see the Islamic State, the
about
women are all wearing this. in the Islamic State.
They're not the ones
They
chopping
are.
people's heads off.
But it doesn't matter. This is a
yes, it does
prerequisite
matter.
for the extremist Islamics. The Islamic men are saying that women need to wear a niqab or a burqa.
And
that's the reality.
Sorry, but some would say that that's an outward showing of Sharia law.
Absolutely,
well, you would say
it
that,
is.
but I don't
No,
think...
but that's how a lot of people are seeing it.
but
You know, we
there-
all do have opinions here, and you know, that's how people. You know, there is no reality.
Women
only
of deep Muslim faith say that that's an expression of their faith, that they want to dress extremely modestly. Wendy Francis from the Australian Christian Lobby said it was deeply offensive to her Muslim female friends that you would even compare the niqab to Ku Klux Klan dress. Do you see that point there?
You can see even with this group here how difficult it is to have a conversation.
Not really.
I think we're being...
No, in the point that we've really tried to make sure that we can have a civil conversation, that we don't lose our ability to have a robust conversation about whatever the topic is. Now, the problem is when you start talking about religion and the interpretation of what you believe is right or wrong with that religion, I'm coming from a point of view that equality in Australia, one set of laws, that we don't have an exception to the rule and a privileged class of people, that the rest of us, motorbike helmets are not allowed into Parliament House full stop, they can't go into a bank. But someone in a...
That's a bit silly.
Yeah, but you can't even go into a petrol station, you turn up on your motorcycle, fill your bike up, means you've got to take your gloves off, your helmet, just to go in, pay a $20.
The motorcycle helmets, as far as I'm aware, unless you're a particularly devout bikie, aren't an expression of your religion. They're not an expression of your culture or your faith. A turban, by contrast, or a hijab or a niqab...
Joe, excuse me, if we accept this as normal and part of our society, then we should accept female genital mutilation, honour killings. Well, that's all part of that. I know, it's very difficult, but that's all interconnected.
Because you're not a female also.
Oh, well, absolutely, but I've got a wife and I've got a daughter and I'm concerned for them, and I'm seeing many changes in Australia that are not positive.
Do you also see that this can backfire as well by banning the niqab and the burqa in public? You then run the risk of having these women not being able to leave the house at all because they can't be seen out.
When
They're not allowed to leave.
These people have segregated themselves in a country that there is no reason they need to segregate themselves. They have all the rights, male and female, to practice their faith. They have the ability to wear the hijab in the most beautiful ways and fashion-wise endless. There's nothing about anyone stopping a Muslim person fulfilling their needs as someone being modest. The burqa and niqab are actually not fundamentally part of Islam, and that is the part that everyone can argue about. Is it or isn't it? Now, for me, if there are 200 or 2,000 individuals in Australia that wish to wear the niqab and burqa, they don't actually have the right to change our way of life in Australia from the point of view of equality when it comes to banks and security and everything else. And the other thing, and Joe knows this from years ago, we've proven, like, men can wear these garments. And once you're in these garments, and it has nothing to do with Islam then, or Muslim women, these garments are a security risk because anyone can be in them and do all sorts of things that haven't even been thought of yet. And that's the problem. Like, who's going to take the responsibility of that?
Can I just put an argument to you? You obviously want to make a great argument about the concerns that you have with the hijab. The issue that I had seen in regards to what I saw yesterday, the Ku Klux Klan, as Sarah mentioned before, is a horrendous time in history where it's the murder and brutality and torture of many people. Do you understand that that's an extraordinarily dangerous game to play?
Yes,
absolutely,
totally. But the point is that people can still make a comment about this, but are uncomfortable about this. And you've got to remember, like right now, worldwide, like Boko Haram and the slavery of the young girls, that now there's 550 girls that still has kind of dropped off the map with the discussion of them being kidnapped and brought into slavery.
I just think defending that.
Yeah, I just don't think this is what our country needs right now.
Why do Muslim women want to wear this? If this is freedom, this is not freedom in the context of Western civilization.
It's their choice.
But it's not. It's not up to them. In many cases,
someone say, why do you want to dress as the Ku Klux Klan anyway?
But what you were saying before about being, if women aren't allowed to wear this, they're actually now being held against their will to leave the family home. By whom?
I think it's up to
their
people.
husbands.
It's up to people to wear what they want, and if they want to look stupid, then...
we talk about equality and this kind of like happening
in Saudi Arabia, I'll be stoned.
Western world's come a long way, and you're just now having this all being pulled down.
Guys, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you for coming in and sharing your thoughts with us today here at Studio 10.